Jim, AEW just had a big pay-per-view event, AEW Dynasty, their first
Really?
Dynasty.
They did? I was watching Dynasty. What did I miss?
Well, it was Dynasty in St. Louis, upwards of 6,000 fans. They said it was sold out. The building looked full-ish.
Well, I take it that it's sold out for the tickets they put on sale. They had a nice stay. You can Google what is it, the Snavitz Arena? Or the Jacob Javits Arena? What is it? It's one of the newer buildings over there in St. Louis. It's not the Kiel Center. That's the NBA.
And it ain't the Javits
location. But they got 7,000 people or thereabouts. So we applaud them for that. And I've got to say, as usual, with AEW, they had good things here. They just got in their own way of them standing out by letting everybody do everything again. That's not news or anything we haven't covered before. But Jesus Christ again. I won't belabor this too much, but I'll just get it out of the way at the top of the program. They went 2 minutes from midnight of having a pay-per-view on 2 different days, Saturday and Sunday, and running out their pay-per-view window. And that was with an hour of pre-show, as they call them, matches. If it's a goddamn match in the same ring you're using in front of the same crowd, it's a goddamn match on the show. I've been fighting that shit since Ring of Honor. But that's another hour. So those people, if they got in when the doors opened up, then 6 hours later, they're allowed to fucking leave? This is almost like kidnapping, isn't it?
They seem to want to be there.
It was a hot crowd. But maybe for the people who are in their living room at midnight Eastern time trying to watch, of course I did not. There's no way I'm staying up till midnight for anything, much less this shit. As usual, I recorded it and got up early on Monday morning with the Roosters and Harley and watched it. But Jesus Christ, it just goes on so long. At some point, nothing could be different. It's just over and over again. Am I overstating this case?
I don't think you're overstating it. Now, I thought it was a good event. I thought it was a good wrestling card. The issue may have been, if you remember when we previewed it, we ran through the card, there were matches after the world title match. And I think in this case, Danielson versus Ospreay was a match that there shouldn't have been anything after because it was almost impossible to do anything after that.
And you know what? They could have just tweaked it a little bit and said, okay, this challenge match is going to be a special lights out match. Let them, and that way have the main event, the world title match, and then put up, because like you see, you couldn't follow it. It was like Sammy in Montreal or, whatever the fucking case. You didn't, it just, and also it was very good. And then they followed it with stuff that was very bad. And then they tried to get him back for the main event, but we'll get there. Anyway, I will have you know that the first match was for the Continental Breakfast Championship. Pac versus Okodi. And finally, I've got to let you know at the top of this that this son of a bitch has finally won me over. I'm a fan of his. I think he ought to be used and pushed more.
Which one?
Pac. What the fuck you think I'm into, Okodi? Come on.
Okada? Kazuchika Okada?
Well, you do and you'll clean it up. As Mama Cornette used to say. But anyway, this was the first match, and I said, okay, another one of the bonus babies, the $1 million, kids. I'm going to watch this, and I'm going to let him try to impress me again on pay-per-view with no commercial breaks, a money match. This is what they signed him for, right? To be in money matches on pay-per-view. So I watched this thing, and here are the random notes that I wrote down of my impressions. Pac looks incredible. Okodi looks like a fucking guy. Pac has a physique. He has mean facials. He's got the fucking hair. Cody has no fucking body or tone. He's stone-faced for half the match, except when he's making a fake shock face, and his haircut is CPA meets peroxide. Pac is aggressive. Cody is blasé and slow. Pac usually wrestles another acrobat, so they do stupid shit, but here, Cody was so slow and not motivated, it slowed Pac down, and he then got over and looked like $1 million. And he beat the shit out of Cody. And I had 10 different guys in Ohio Valley Wrestling at any point that could have had the match that Cody was having. And you've seen a bunch of those shows. Can you deny that? Was there anything that this guy did besides his wonderful standing drop kick in this match that any of the OVW guys that you've said, the top guys, the Dinsmores, the Conways of the world, were not doing on my television?
I think Okada's better than him personally.
What did he do here?
I thought it was a good match.
What did he do here?
It was a fine match.
It was a great match because of Pac. Pac is the babyface. Okada's the heel, but the people are cheering both of them.
Well, honestly, though, that's a problem company-wide. The idea there's no heels and baby faces, and sometimes you're a heel with baby faces against other heels with baby faces. It fucks up the crowd dynamic in general.
Yeah, but I understand why that they're cheering for Pac, but what, are they just cheering because this is the guy that they've heard about that's supposed to be good? He just doesn't have to do anything good in front of them.
Hey, based on the reactions of this audience, and again, it's a pay-per-view. Sometimes people travel in for pay-per-views. They got a big house here. I'm guessing this is the audience that would know who the stars of New Japan were. And if you want to present any of these guys like stars, these are the fans you want them in front of, because they react to everything like they're stars.
Well, visually, sitting in my living room, this looked like when an ex-WWE guy would do an indie show and let a local guy get his shit in, with Cody being the local guy. I mean, he's not, is he trying? Is he trying? I wrote Pac hits a backflip off the top rope to the floor. Which one are we pushing? Pac looks great. Cody is slow and his feet are in the mud. Pac Germans the guy on top of his head and he popped right up. It didn't sell it and drop kicked Pac, and then both of them sold like they were dead and nobody got up. And the fans love this kind of thing, but 15 minutes in, it was dragging. Because it was a 20-minute match of a Pac against a jobber that he's letting do some shit. Pac hit a great clothesline. Great German with a bridge. Okada hit the tombstone and didn't even cover him. And suddenly in 10 seconds, Pac is back up on offense running around. So that's the thing, as I've said with Pac before. When he's with one of these acrobats, he does too much shit, and he needs to work like a fucking top guy instead of a fucking gymnast and a cheerleader. And occasionally he can't put his matches together. But if he had a fucking leader and a producer, yes, I see why people would book him. Anyway, finally he fucking did a leaping tombstone on Cody and didn't cover him and came off the top, and brother raised his legs and then hit the weak-ass short-arm clothesline, but Pac's bump made that 1, 2, 3. It was over 20 minutes. And my comment is, any booker over the last 50 years would say, I can do something with Pac, and the Japanese kids the shits and gotten away. There you have it. The fuck?
Good match. I like Okada.
What did he do that you like?
It was a good match. What did he do? He wrestled the match. I don't know how to break that down.
What one thing besides something that I just called out, what do you remember that he did?
Besides the drop kick?
Yes.
Besides the Rainmaker?
Well, that's the clothesline, right? Yeah, and he does that all the time.
I mean, we could start at the beginning. They locked up, collar and elbow tie up. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I thought it was good. Did you think it was a good match to have as the opener?
I thought there were several instances where Pac, he even did the goddamn little backwards backflip, swan dive, springboard off the top out on the floor.
But here's the problem, and this isn't even about Okada, who they're obviously trying to push, so they want to give him a win, which made the result obvious before the match. But Pac never wins. What has been the big singles feud that Pac has won? There isn't any. So
no.
That's the problem. You have a guy who can have a great match, and you come away from it thinking that guy's great. He never wins. He never gets a win in singles matches.
That's the thing. I'm judging on talent here. I was trying to let this new $1 million kid impress me, and instead the fucking guy that got over was the other guy. Now, of course, he's been there for 5 years, and we've seen him in a lot of shitty matches, and they never use him regularly. He doesn't beat anybody. His booking's the shits, just like everybody else. So I'm not saying he's going to draw him any money. But if you set somebody down, if the WWE scouting program, and I know he's been there, and I don't know if there's heat or what, but I'm just saying if these were two guys that the biggest company in the world, and I've been involved in it, the scouting program, the training program, if they were sitting down to watch that match, say, we want to sign one of these guys, which one do you think they're going to sign? Just cold, not knowing anybody personally.
The one on the gas.
They're going to, yes, because he's the one that got over. Because he's the one that can work. He's the one that can do some shit. We can produce him. This other fucking lackluster, physiqueless, fucking goofy, haircutted, goddamn no personality motherfucker can jump up and do a drop kick. George Goulas could throw a fucking chop.
Oh, come on. Don't even compare him to George Goulas. That's not right.
No, because he doesn't have a father that was a promoter. Otherwise, there's very little fucking difference.
Oh,
Show
come on.
me.
Give me a break. Now this is getting ridiculous. Come on. You could say you don't like him, but to compare him to George Goulas and then put Goulas over him.
I'm trying to light a fire under this motherfucker and go out and try to earn his money. This is the most lackluster fucking bullshit. He has done dick all of shit, as Dennis Condrey would say.
Did you think this was a good opener?
On his program.
Was this a good opener for the pay-per-view? Knowing the way the rest of the card was going to go, was this the right choice?
Well, yes, because it was at least it was two guys with no furniture and a referee that looked like he was trying sometimes. So that's different than most of the match. So yes, it's a good place to start.
So still the Continental Champion. Is this the Continental? Yeah, this is the Continental one.
Yeah.
Okada.
He looks,
Okada.
Maybe that's why he makes those faces, because he's not the Continental Champion, he's incontinent.
And you can't call him the Incontinent Champion. It's too close to Intercontinental. You get sued.
Well, so maybe he's not even the best person at being incontinent. He's just leaking on a regular basis.
If it's the Continental Championship, how does it work? Do you represent a continent or continents that are connected? Right?
Well, the continents aren't really connected, are they?
Well, I mean,
they have to be different.
North and South are America.
But now wait a minute. Now I haven't studied this in like 52 years. So let's see.
Asia and Europe.
But if it's a continent, then North and South America is all the same continent, isn't it? Because it's all connected.
Well, I'm saying you could, technically if he wanted to drive, he could drive probably straight down somehow.
You used to be able to walk from Russia to Alaska millions of years ago. You aware of that?
That's right. Yeah. They found people frozen in ice.
And so we find our next match, frozen in ice. Like DC villains, frozen in amber in the Twilight Zone. What was it ain't the Twilight Zone.
What was the next
Or
match?
the Forbidden Zone. Where did they put the DC villains and what? The Phantom Zone. Well, out of the Phantom Zone came the House of Black. And here you've got Malachi Black and Brody King and Buddy Matthews, he of the unfortunate name. And they took on Edge, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe. And I'm sure that there was some programming somewhere over in Ring of Honor or on a streaming site, or maybe they just fucking put it on tape and fucking mailed it to somebody. that explains why these three odd baby faces have teamed up against the House of Blech in the 6-man tag team match. I can't blow by blow. Here's the thing. Here's my evaluation as a professional with 40 odd years experience in the industry of all of these people. Eddie Kingston has now become a complete waste of time because he doesn't work the gimmick that Mother Nature gave him. We've talked about it. Some kind of fucking angry fucking badass mechanic from the Bronx. Put some fucking
Yonkers,
wherever. Put some fucking regular clothes on him instead of whatever that goddamn tribute to fucking All Japan Pro Wrestling outfit he wears. It looks like he's pregnant with a goddamn watermelon. And he can talk like that, but he doesn't do it. And he looks like shit, but with the gimmick that would work for him. If he dressed it and talked it and acted like it and worked it instead of pretending to be Japanese and doing Japanese karaoke badly with the fucking thing where he does the chops where he hits himself harder than the fucking opponent. There's no focus on his booking, which is not his fault, but he ought to give him something to work with that they couldn't fucking keep down. And what he's doing is he's living some kind of fantasy of getting to work all these Japanese matches with these Japanese superstars that are all broken down and immobile, and he can't do that shit. So there you got that. Then you got Mark Briscoe, who could have been one of the top 2 or 3 major singles fucking baby faces in this company over the last year and almost a half now, but they didn't know how to fucking do that either. Edge has become just one of the boys already. Malachi Black is Malachi Blah. His work is sometimes good. The spooky gimmick was goofy. And when left to his own devices at the start there, it was not promising. But he's been booked rotten also because Tony doesn't know what the fuck. And then he got sent over to the goddamn Collision show when it was going to be the wrestling show. That didn't last. Brody King is a fat tattooed indie guy that does all the shit that fat tattooed indie guys do. And Buddy Matthews is a fucking superstar with the worst name that I've ever fucking heard. Hidden and submerged in a sea of dreck. So there you go. What do you think they did, Brian? Can you disagree with any of those assessments?
I think Brody King is all right. I
thought Jesus was just all right.
Well, that's a song. That's a song.
Jesus is just all right. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, your modulation's acting up. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for any technical difficulties.
That's because I'm talking about Jesus.
Okay. Why?
Because he's just all right with me. And you said Brody King was all right.
I think Brody King's all right. I think you're a little too hard on Brody King.
All right. Otherwise, everything's pretty good.
Mark Briscoe is one of the bigger missed opportunities in AEW history, and there's been a lot of people, and he's one of the people at the top of the list.
Whew. Well, anyway, so they all did the things they all do. At one point, Buddy got in, looked fantastic, and then Kingston sat his fat ass down in the ring and told this jacked up muscle fucking head to kick him. And that was about 6 minutes into the match, and I said, I'm done with this shit. I hate Skip Mark Briscoe, but So we go to the finish. And basically, all 3 of the baby faces speared all 3 of the heels, and everybody sold. And it was the corpse referee, of course, so for some reason, he turned his back forever. Even way before he had to. Before Malachi Black was even loading up his fucking mist and nobody. But anyway, Edge stands up and goes for the deal, and Malachi Black spits the mist in Edge's face and hits his kick, cover, 1, 2, 3, and of course the referee counted even though Edge's face was covered with a bucket of green paint. 18-minute match, and I skipped the last 12. I think I maybe made the right decision. What did I miss?
I did have that same thought too as the referee's counting. Like 1, 2. Hey, what's that shit on this guy's face?
You're so green.
What happened to this guy? It was all right. I'm sick of Adam Copeland. I haven't been a fan of Eddie Kingston's in-ring work in a while. Mark Briscoe, because of the way he's been used and who he's been used with, I have no interest in right now. House of Black are okay. Somehow, at times. And then they disappear and then they reappear.
And we're not talking about the blackouts.
No.
We're talking about they just go away from the show.
They're off TV and you hear that they're difficult and then they reappear and they say they're not difficult and then they're off TV again. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. The 6-man titles were unified during the pre-show. I don't know if you saw about this.
I heard about this on on the interweb, that apparently now Jay White and the Gunn Boys beat the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn for their 6-man belts. So now they've got both the 6-man belts, which means they've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They got 6 belts. That works out kind of good. And how far has the Acclaimed fallen that they lose their belts on the pre-show?
A lot of people were up in arms too about Max Caster. Let me play a little bit of this since you didn't hear it. Here's Max Caster.
Oh, good Lord.
Yo, I'll treat you like a light. Switchblades when I switch. I'll fulfill your fantasy and I'ma make you my bitch. Yo, this dude's just making me sick. I'll violate you so bad you'll have to tell the legal team about the taste of my dick.
So a lot of people up in arms about that because Max Caster's basically saying he's going to commit sexual violence against Jay White.
But also, more importantly, how did they ISO that without the music that he's rapping over the top of?
It was a cappella. There was no music during that portion.
Oh, good Lord. Well, then they don't need to ever do that again. Because it sounds like something when he's got the music, right? When he ain't got the music, he just sounds like some kind of fucking delinquent child, saying naughty things. There's no rhythm, there's no oomph, there's no confidence, there's no. I thought of something else. I'm not concerned about besides the fact that do they want people saying dick because there's kids there? The fucking sexual violence, blow me. But there's kids, you want the taste of my dick in your kids' ears, so to speak. And secondly, why weren't they playing any music over that shit? Because it goddamn sounds amateur and rotten.
Well, Dave Meltzer has a report here on Twitter. It says from 18 hours ago, right after this happened, I think Max Caster may get in trouble. So we'll see what happens there. But that's the 6-man division, the House of Black and the Bang Bang Gang, who now have their titles with Juice Robinson somewhere to be found.
Somewhere, hopefully, he'll be on his own when he comes back. Maybe he'll have amnesia. And he won't be able to remember who he was teamed up with. But
it is interesting, though. There are a lot of people who you would think should be about to come back or coming back within the next few months, whether it's, Juice Robinson. I see a lot of people talking about Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Where the hell are they?
I forgot. Well, I didn't forget about Britt Baker, but I've tried. No, but I forgot about Jamie Hayter.
MJF, at a certain point, he can't be injured forever.
Well, I think he needs to be injured a lot longer to get the taste out of people's mouth of what they last saw.
But my point is, they have people that have been away for a while that should, and there's more, I'm sure, that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head that should be available at some point in the future. So we'll see what happens. But that was the 6-man match.
Yes, and the 6-man division update, and I skipped the last 12 minutes of that. But Brian, what do you think the odds are that I just skipped the rest of this show?
Oh, I hope you watch this show. I hope there's so many, even the women's matches I want to hear, especially one of the women's matches. I want to hear what you think.
What do you think the odds are? What about the over and under? Are you going to pick 6?
Is there a point spread involved with this?
Well, you can spread whatever you want because we're all adults here. But I'll tell you what, if you're a fan of the NBA, well, listen up. To the sound of my voice, you got to try Pick 6, the newest fantasy app from DraftKings, an official partner of the NBA. Now, this is not a fantasy app that, you can't do at work, or you want to make sure your parents aren't looking over your shoulder, even if you're 47 years old. This is the fantasy sports. We're talking about the good kind, where you just dream up examples of whether you think a player will have more or less of a stat. For example, will a player have more than one rebound, Brian? Or will the player be struck by a batted ball? That'd be a good one. They don't really bat balls in the NBA, do they?
Is that really one of the questions they give you? Will a player be struck by a batted ball?
No, I just thought that would be a good thing to bet on.
How would you bet on that? What player is going to be hit by the batted ball?
Well, see, what you do is you go and you find one of the batters that, you find one of the batters that has a goddamn, terminally ill family member or something in need of money, and you say, look, I'll give you $500,000. If you will fucking try to hit a home run right into the belly of the third baseman, just drill him.
You can't just do that willy-nilly like that.
Well, they did it with the White Sox back in 19. But anyway, folks, that's what you do. You download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now using the code JCE, and then take on the competition with your best NBA player picks. Will a player have less or more than 3.5 assists? Will a player jump up and fucking get hung up in the goddamn hoop for more than 7 seconds? We don't know what's going on here. You can bet on anything if you want to.
Will your favorite player draw a better quarter-hour rating than AEW?
Yes, there's a statistic that we all want to keep an eye on. So pick your favorite players, folks, and compete for huge cash. That's huge cash prizes. If you get some of this information correct, then, well, you'll just be farting through silk. So right now, again, download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app now using the code JCE, and that way they'll know you're one of the cool kids. Only on DraftKings Pick 6 with code JCE. The crown is yours. And Brian, do we have a brief statement that is to be added to the addendum of this pedendum?
We do. I'm just finding the file right now where Studio Hands put it here. Let me open it up here. Here's our friend David Smith giving his finest rendition.
Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 and over in most eligible states. Age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Pick 6 not available in all states, including but not limited to Connecticut and New York. For up-to-date list of states, visit dkng.co/pick6states. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
That's have
you gone over there to dkng.co/pick6states for the up-to-date list of states? Because I got it. There's still 50 of them. That's up to the present time. There are still only 50 of the United States of America, but we're pulling for Puerto Rico. Those folks deserve it.
Before Washington, D.C.?
Well, those folks deserve it too, because they got to put up with the largest concentration of criminals in the smallest fucking area in all of the United States. So they should at least get some sovereignty over their own land when every day all these fucking lawbreakers come into work. All righty. Are we moving on?
We are. I hope.
We are.
I certainly hope.
Well, I wanted to get your input on this. I didn't want to make you feel left out.
It's your show.
The TBS title was on the line with Willow Nightingale against Julia Hart. And now we have heard, have we gotten any verification that Julia was injured, or maybe she just, something's hampering her because she didn't get very active in the mixed tag the other night. And then this was short and simple. Willow won with the power bomb in 7 minutes, 1, 2, 3, which of course, we said they've been pointing toward Willow and Mercedes Moan for the next pay-per-view, and Willow's over. So I think that this was the right decision to make, to put the belt on Willow, but hopefully Julia, because she looks like a star. She just needs some experience and to get to NXT as soon as possible. And I think she'll have something. But basically, Willow wins with the powerbomb, and then suddenly music plays and the taped CEO chants begin, and here Mercedes moans her way to the ring and struts up to Willow and mocks her, and Willow holds the belt up, and they have the face-off. So Willow is probably getting the biggest babyface reactions of any girl I can think of on the roster right now from the crowd. Am I overlooking somebody?
No, you're certainly not overlooking Mercedes Monet's reactions other than week 1.
Well, but also Willow is friends with Chris Statlander, but she's got a manager, Stokely Hathaway. This is going to be a recurring theme that all of the people with heel managers are the most popular motherfuckers in the company. So Willow's a babyface with a babyface friend and a heel manager that just beat a heel, Julia Hart. We know she's a heel because she's with the black folks.
The House of Black.
Yes, she's with them. That's why we know they're heels altogether. And so Mercedes is mad at Willow and fucking with and bobbing her head up and shaking her finger at Willow. Don't you think that Mercedes is going to be a full-fledged heel within 6 weeks? Because she's too egotistical and full of herself.
I think you're ridiculous thinking she's not already with a lot of that fan base, especially against Willow Nightingale. What has she done to make her
they're going to be booing her flat out, no matter who she appears against or wrestles, because she's so full of her own fucking smell of her own shit and has done nothing to impress anybody, but comes out there and acts like she's, as the young folks say, queen shit. And Willow, they're going to want to see her punch that fucking face in, aren't they?
Well, the other problem is if Willow got this belt just to drop it to Mercedes Moné to give Mercedes Moné her win back from when she had to lose to Willow when she got hurt in the match.
That'll finish it off.
That will cause that fan base to completely turn on her. She came in, and other than week 1, where they were very loud, I mean, the building was all for her. It was a hometown crowd. They're not chanting CEO. They're piping that in with the song, and it's really loud, and it sounds like people. But when that part dies down, you realize people are just standing there. They're not moving. I had that thought with Jericho. Jericho came out, and they panned the crowd, and people weren't moving. No one was, like, lifting their hands and saying, yeah. No one was even booing. Just no one was moving. They didn't care. If you move, no one moved. So I think
they took that warning to heart.
So I think with her, she's worn out her welcome quickly because she hasn't done anything, and her promos have been really weak, and those are pre-taped. And Willow got herself over before she even got there. She got herself over. There is something with her and Statlander, both from Long Island. Both are two of the more talented women there. I mean, this match was two women.
I don't know why they have a manager.
There's been no explanation about the route of Stokely from being the heel manager of the firm, right? Wasn't that it? They were helping MJF
of that nature
to being the babyface manager of Willow and Statlander. There's no explanation, but I think Willow's really good.
Well, yeah, and so that's why I've said.
I think the fans there chose her. That's the thing. The AEW fans chose her, and Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné is a star. We'll see if the AEW fans choose her. I don't know if they're going to.
Well, and that's why if they're going for Mercedes and Willow at the next pay-per-view, then this was the right thing for Willow to beat Julia, not to lose, except shouldn't they have had Mercedes beat Julia if they want her to be a babyface?
She's not cleared. She's not cleared apparently yet.
Who's not cleared?
From what I saw, and we'll go through a little bit of media scrum audio afterwards. I don't know if we have this audio pulled up. I believe Tony said that the reason they're doing the match at Double or Nothing, Willow and Mercedes, is because she's not medically cleared yet.
Mercedes?
Yeah.
Well, what the fuck? I thought she got hurt a fucking year ago. I thought that's why they put her on TV to begin with. She's back. She's ready to go. What if the doctor says, nope, you know what? I was wrong. Needs till July. What are you going to do then, fucking Einstein? Jesus Christ, these people have all gone out of their fucking minds. All right, well, anyway, Mercedes is going to be a heel one way or the other. If she beats Willow, she's going to be a fucking heel. And if she doesn't beat Willow, then why did they fucking sign her to begin with? Which is probably the question in everybody's mind at this point already.
Considering the way she does her promos and how unrealistic they are, and just her whole character is an unrealistic character if you really think about it, should they get her away from like Willow and Julia and put her more with like a Toni Storm? Someone who's into hamming it up and into having a character, even though she can work.
Well, no, because
it's more gimmick-based.
They'll cheer Toni Storm against her because Toni Storm's good at what she does. It's not really applies to wrestling except in their comedy world or the cheesy world, as Goldberg would say, but at least she's good at it. Mercedes, whatever she's doing, she's not good at it. So anyway, I'm on the Willow train. Please don't hit Willow, hit Willow, hit Willow.
You incorporate that whether there's a reason or not at this point.
Well, because I'm very lyrical and cynical and logical. So come on, Super Tramp. We got another match to talk about. Did you love the Intercontinental, or whatever the fuck their name of the title is, title match between Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly?
Unfortunate for these two, this was I'm going to take a break for a little while, so I missed a portion of the match because I wasn't really interested in it. So I was able to walk away and...
Exactly.
You know, I saw the finish and I saw the big happy moment at the end where Adam Cole proved he could walk.
Yes. But here is the problem, is that besides, I'll go ahead and spoiler alert, not like this is any surprise, except for Danielson and Ostrich, this was the only other legitimate wrestling match on this fucking program. And it was, if you want great bell-to-bell wrestling, which is what even Uncle Dave says, and the AEW fans say, well, this is the greatest bell-to-bell wrestling. If you want great bell-to-bell wrestling, mat wrestling, high spots, what UFC's MMA style influence, whatever, these two are your guys. They've got great basics. They were serious. They don't do this trampoline, lucha, fucking acrobatic cheerleading routine bullshit. They lay their shit in. It's an athletic contest instead of the fucking floor exercise. And the problem is that nobody gives a fuck about either one of these guys because they are booked into that corner by this how Roddy's been used. And Kyle O'Reilly, after 2 years as an injury of being out with an injury, for the first time ever, I think in wrestling history, a babyface comes back from a near career-ending injury, almost 2 years on the shelf, comes back looking like a homeless hobo, gets no push whatsoever, and loses his return match against his ex-friend and partner. So did Kyle just come back to have that, okay, fuck it, thank you, you're done, because he's useless again, like they made him last time. And the people politely liked the effort here, but none of these guys are over because they've been booked by Tony Khan and made to look like imbeciles. So you got a great in-ring performance and rotten booking that prevented this match from being a money match on the card or important in any way. But they, you know, when you talk about the earlier signing, I know you got mad. I like Okada. Maybe I don't like you too much, Brian. But Okada can't wash these guys' balls on effort or execution. And if you had a serious wrestling promotion with a sports-based presentation, if we could get the WWE style booking and to make stars along with the execution of guys like this, you could have pro wrestling as UFC. You could have weight classes that meant something. You could have people, the mainstream audience, invested in guys' performances. But instead, it either has to be, and now I think the WWE's realizing that since the same company owns both, instead of a fucking indie clown show where a bunch of stupid fucks do choreographed routines with furniture breaking, you make stars with individual personalities that people care about. You give them a reason to want to see these people fight each other. And then you have athletic resolutions of those conflicts like Strong and O'Reilly or Danielson and Osprey. And that's your modern style, bell to bell, exciting pro wrestling. Not a bunch of children jacking off playing pretend. Am I crazy?
I don't think the children jacking off's the answer. I don't think these two guys are the answer either. I think at this point, I think maybe there was an argument a while back, but in 2024, things have gone past this. This was like a Ring of Honor Slamboree match.
Well,
Roddy's in better shape than he was then. Kyle's in worse shape than he was then.
Yes, he is. But that's what I'm saying. It's not these guys, but if it was only bell to bell, you can't get much better than these guys. But it's not only bell to bell. It's fucking personalities. It's booking. It's a whole structure. It's up and down the card. It's not just one match on it. And then you go back to the goddamn Dancing Bears. It would have to be a style, and that's what they're doing in the WWE now. Is they're not having guys, that are fucking technical masters. Billy Robinson is not going to become their champion, but they're getting guys over with individual personalities and telling stories, and they're seeing that the athleticism still needs to be more of a part of it. I hope getting away from the furniture and the indie bullshit and instead going more to the Logan Pauls and or a UFC crossover where you get some of those guys involved. But it would be nice if there was a serious marriage of something instead of these guys having to go out there and do what they were doing very good. Great basics, lay shit in, potato with the forearms, whatever. But it's like a fucking screen door on a submarine. It's so out of place when they're going to bring the fucking furniture back in the next match or do stupid stunts with the goddamn run-ins on the finishes. Or nobody takes either one of these guys seriously to begin with because one's a fucking hobo that just got out of goddamn a coma and the other one's been a fucking idiot for the past year and a half on this show.
Yeah. That's the problem.
But it was wonderful bell to bell.
Roddy finally showed some real personality, and then he went way too far with it way too quickly.
Yes.
And now I'm sick of him. And I'll let you finish the big Return of the Undisputed Kingdom here.
Yes, that is. And they have the match, and then suddenly Wardlow just comes out and he's going to step into the ring, and the referee sees him and says, "Get out of here." And he does. He just goes back out. And the match continued, and then Roddy just hit his finish. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And, again, wonderful wrestling match. And it's a shame. And then Cole and Taven and Bennett were on the stage, and Cole in his wheelchair, and then suddenly Cole got up and walked to the ring. And gave Wardlow a dirty look because Wardlow's giving them dirty looks because Wardlow's unhappy again by being mistreated and talked to like a stooge again by the people that he inexplicably works for no reason again. And O'Reilly, meanwhile, has lost his first match back from a 2-year injury against his old friend that seemed to turn his back on him in some way. I don't fucking know. I don't know what they did. Kyle was just wandering around and in a soma coma backstage. What the fuck?
Well, you don't have to worry about the loss meaning anything because I think everyone forgot that he lost the match as soon as they were just happy that the heel was able to walk.
Yes, they were ecstatic that the fucking devil, that the man who cost MJF the world title and the long-running Black Scorpion-like reveal of the devil. No, the devil got crippled, but now the devil can walk again. Praise God, he's healed the devil. Lay your hands on the radio. They need a staff psychiatrist. They don't need a disciplinary committee. They don't need a legal team. They need a staff psychiatrist to come out at the end of the program and explain to all of us at home exactly how we're supposed to understand how these people fucking think.
Hey, on that topic, real quick, I don't know where the best spot to say this is, so I'll say it here. Jim Ross did a bunch of matches on this show. I thought he did a great job on this night.
He had energy, and maybe that's the thing is because it's 4 fucking hours. Good God. Maybe, he comes out, boom, at the start, it comes out, boom, and then boom, and goes back and sits there because you're numb. What else can you say? So I think, yes, spurts, but he had energy, and his voice sounded stronger than last time that we heard him, or one of the last times we heard him.
I thought he did a good job.
So that, and... again, they've got a good announcing team in there somewhere. But Sockface gets in the way of all of them, and Shivani's just, there to stooge. And there's Taz, there's Nigel, there's JR when motivated and not being insulted with what's in front of him in the ring. And there's Ian Riccaboni is still around there somewhere. There's a great announcing team in the middle of all this fucking effluvia, too. Anyway, speaking of effluvia, the time just fluvia by. It was already time for the FTW title match. Fuck the world, fuck this match. Chris Jericho's graphic is now the learning tree, Chris Jericho. The ghost of Ernie Ladd could teach me. Ernie Ladd's desiccated corpse could teach me more than Chris Jericho can right now.
So let's stop for a second. We briefly talked about it. He has filed to trademark the Jericho Vortex and the Learning Tree. We literally just had artwork a few weeks ago of the Vortex of Jericho, how guys get caught up in it and never recover. So he's taking stuff from this show now.
Yes.
And trying to incorporate it into his gimmick. Unfortunately, at this point, even the AEW fans just want him, literally, in their own words, they want him to go home.
To retire. Please retire. Please retire. And by the way, and also, we're not going to sue him for the Jericho Vortex thing because that is our trademarked artwork and copyrighted program and all that stuff, but we want him to have it. Because the Jericho Vortex writes itself. Somebody has already put up the meme of the overhead shot of the toilet bowl being flushed. The Jericho Vortex.
Can I ask you a question? Because I don't remember the answer. Maybe you do. Did Hook ever lose before? Did he lose the FTW title? I mean, the point is I can't remember him getting pinned or losing. That's why I'm asking.
At one point, they did something screwy, didn't they?
Maybe.
Well, that's way too generic a statement. More specific, please. But the point that we have to think about it is that we can't say they protected him. He comes and he goes and he's here and then he's not, but they haven't just beaten him and made him look like a goofball.
That's
right?
protection in AEW. That's protection.
Well, yeah, there you go. But Jericho, not a popular fellow with this crowd, I think, to say the least. I wanted to give, again, this match every chance to, what the fuck is Jericho going to try to teach Hook something? Learn skills that he can apply in his career in a positive fashion. And then Jericho's pulling out a table 3 minutes in and they're fighting on the floor. And I'm like, okay. And it's FTW rules are no count out, false count anywhere, no disqualification, lazy booking. And then there Hook gets a trash can lid. So I'm like, okay, they're not going to try to teach the young man anything on pay-per-view. But this, even if it was a garbage match, it looked like an AARP qualifier trying to lead a green kid 30 years younger than him through a fucking garbage indie match, which is basically the description of what actually factually happened, wasn't it? And the fans love Hook and they hate Jericho on a apparently somewhat of a personal level now.
Let me stop you there because I did see some people claiming, and again, we weren't in the room to be fair, but it's easy to tell the reaction sometimes. There were some people claiming that this was an example of Jericho having great heat. That crowd reaction, that wasn't heat, was it?
Please retire is not the chant that you want to fucking elicit if you're a heel, is it? And it's the groaning heat. It's the no, we don't like this shit. No, I'm sorry. It's not the fake heat where it becomes a crowd sing-along thing to boo over Don Fallis's promos, or more prominently Dominic Mysterio's promos. That's a fan participation. That's not real heat. There is no real heat, legitimately, and that's not me as an old-timer saying it. That's next time somebody comes over the rail at a fucking heel with a goddamn knife, then I'll admit I'm wrong. But the bloodline, we just saw at WrestleMania several examples of heels who get a heel reaction that is not groaning and please retire, or not the audience just feeding on itself and having fun. They're really booing the heel because they're doing shit they don't want to see him do, and they want to see the other guy win. So there's that heat still in the business. This match just didn't have it. Am I being too harsh?
No, this was a bad match, a sloppy match. Hook certainly didn't learn anything in this match. Jericho somehow talked his way into getting another win over someone who it certainly doesn't help anyone other than Jericho.
And won his father's belt.
And in this case, it didn't even help Jericho. The fans rejected him. They weren't booing a heel. They weren't mad that a heel was beating a babyface. They were mad that Chris Jericho, the human being, was in this match beating another young guy.
Yes. And I want to see how Hook is doing with the furniture and the conditions that prevailed. You can't even really tell how his work is coming along. But I will advise him to get with your dad and watch video of the body shots you're throwing and change immediately how you're throwing them, young man. Anyway, so then Hook suplexed Jericho off the apron through a table and got a 2 count on the floor at one point. And then Hook put the can over Jericho's head and did the piñata deal. You know what? For the Tennessee street fights and a fucking blood feud with a bunch of fucking raving fucking people want to see the goddamn heel get the shit kicked out of him, that kind of shit worked. But this is just... it's the worst part of modern wrestling now that they've just all got to... Anyway, finally, they broke another table. And then Jericho got a baseball bat and yelled, "Don't make me do this. You made me hit you." Like some kind of abusive relationship. Jericho pitched him, "Hey, let me be your mentor," 4 weeks ago. And they haven't gotten along from the beginning. So how is it, "Don't make me do this"? Don't make me. The fucking kid first week said, "I know what you're like, motherfucker." And don't make me do it. Feels like I'm stabbing my own son in the back. And then Hook gives him the finger. So Jericho hits him with a baseball bat. 1, 2, 3. 17 fucking minutes. Yeah.
Awful. The AEW fans rejected it. They rejected Jericho. If you wanted to teach Hook how to wrestle a big match on a big show and put him in there with a veteran to teach him that, this was not that. Awful.
This was not this or that. This was the other thing.
I hope Jericho gets stuck in the vortex of himself on an old country road.
I'm wondering, yeah, looking for a shortcut he never found. Can you? Is it possible? Is it somehow possible that you could be sucked up your own asshole? To what would it turn you inside out, or would you disappear?
That is the Jericho vortex. You get sucked up your own ass. You're kissing your own ass and you get sucked right in. And then it just repeats the cycle over and over again. And any young talent gets sucked up and sucked into it.
Reminds me of something Mama Cornette used to say.
Oh, no.
Look at that empty pair of shoes walking down the street. That's Chris Jericho wearing odor eaters.
Mama Cornette used to say that?
Actually, no, I just attributed it to her because I thought of it at the time. That's another old joke.
You know, one time years and years ago in the 90s, we were making phony phone calls with Marty Gorman on the line. And he called up somebody, goes, "Were you eating donuts or are they just naturally fat?" I fucked up big time. Hey, Tubby? He realized after he fucked up his own joke. I have it on tape somewhere. Anyway.
Maybe he was still in PTSD from having his head set on fire in public.
He seemed to enjoy it. It happened a couple times, but...
Well, nevertheless.
Back to Tony Khan setting his head on fire, AEW Dynasty.
Well, you know, it's getting late in the program, and the women's championship match, another one, not the first women's championship match, but the second women's championship match came up with Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa. And there was Luther's fat fucking head out there. And Maria May was out there, and Deonna Purrazzo was out there. And a lot of things happened, and Toni Storm won. You wanted me to watch this earlier, didn't you? Do you still want me to have watched this? Because I didn't watch this.
It was intriguing to me just because Thunder Rosa always works hard, but
if I like Thunder Rosa, but if I skip Mark Briscoe earlier, I can skip Rosa. But go ahead.
It was the women's match. It was after the debacle that was the last match. So fans were kind of there, but not there. But they kind of, in their own weird way, won them over with the stupidity of all this. But beyond that, I'm sick of Toni Storm and the entire character.
You know,
they billed her as being what they say when she came down to the ring from, you know, set 2 at Warner Brothers or whatever. And it's like, oh, come on. Like, now it's just totally dumb.
Yeah, well, and see, we said from the start, she looks good, she can work, there's something there. And then she got the gimmick, and right at the start of it, it's like, okay, she's gone batshit. We could work with it. But then everybody else started acting like she was normal. And it became Green Acres. It wasn't like everybody talking about, why is this woman so delusional? What the fuck? It was like Ben Mankiewicz is fucking, enduring, suffering her presence. So now it's, yes, like you said, it's just ridiculous now. And the camera crew puts her in black and white whenever she wants them to. All righty, should we get to the big one?
The big match. Now, you said the big match, not the main event.
The big one. No, we'll get to the main event later. This is the big one. Danielson and Ostrich. And I'm going to call him Osprey today because I'm in a good mood. And again, another young man that shows that he can be produced. I appreciate that in a young talent. But have we explained why yet? Have we gotten to the bottom of why ole, 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 they're singing the English or the Mexican Spanish bullfighting chant that they sing at the English soccer games to the English fellow, but also to Danielson, who's from somewhere around Seattle? I'm confused.
Well, we've never gotten to the bottom of any of this, but I think with Osprey, they're chanting, aren't they actually singing Osprey, 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 Osprey?
No.
I thought they were saying his name in this specific version.
They were going ole, 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 weren't they? Well, goddamn, now they can't sing the same tune and change the words. Well, that just messes me all up. I don't know. Anyway, let me just say this at the outset. that if everybody in the business wrestled and spoke and looked like Bryan Danielson, it would be drier than a nun's twat. He is a special, unique individual. He does it better than anybody else. He understands it. It fits him. He can have a fantastic match with almost anybody doing this stuff that everybody else tries to do. And, you know, at one point, 70 years ago, everybody in the business wanted to be Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. And we ended up getting Ray Stevens out of that. And then everybody wanted to be Ray Stevens, and we got Ric Flair out of that. Then everybody wanted to be the Road Warriors. And then everybody, you know, wanted to be, it's kind of dovetailed down that there's always one great practitioner of something, but people forget over time how many bleach blonde schlubs that couldn't fucking work, or how many goddamn muscle guys couldn't stick their thumb in their ass, or everybody wanted to be Mick Foley. But as a result, we got a bunch of fat tattooed guys taking bumps. They didn't understand the uniqueness, the specialness. So the point is, Bryan Danielson is a genius. Everything about his presentation, he's not a fireball fucking call the heavens down, big bad John style promo, but he talks like he looks like he should talk, and he's a witty, especially when he was that heel, smart ass kind of guy, and he's got some fire to him as babyface. And he looks like shit visually because he's small and he's pale. But that makes him an underdog and a baby face. And it works for him because the way he works gets around any of those shortcomings. The unique, special people violate the rules in a lot of cases of what should or shouldn't get over. But the most important thing is he understands how to put these things together. And they make sense, and it doesn't just become Eddie Kingston and some Japanese baked potato with arms and legs standing there wailing away on each other. It looks like two drunks in a goddamn mud fight. Does that make any sense, Brian?
It makes sense, sure.
And then that's what I don't understand, why more people can't look in the mirror and say, yes, a guy like Danielson or a guy like Mick Foley or a guy, whoever gives the average person hope that they too could be a big star. But when they try to do their shit and they can't do it, why don't those people realize it? Because if this had been any two other people than Danielson and my boy Will Ospreay, this would have been the shits. Because it would have been guys imitating what these guys are able to do physically, and probably they'd be imitating it badly. And it shows also that Ospreay is the same as Swerve, as Pac, and some of the others. If they're wrestling one of these fucking cheerleaders, then it all becomes tumbling and flips, or if they have the garbage match or whatever, it's furniture. But if they have a legitimate opponent, they slow down, they make it serious, they can do this shit. And I think that Will benefited greatly from having Danielson as an in-ring producer, because yes, Danielson has wrestled in other countries all over the world, but he's wrestled in front of big American crowds, and he knows how to fucking work a match for them. And Will was there every step of the way. So, you know, even though it was a modern style match, it still looked like a contest. It wasn't the Japanese karaoke. When they do the mat wrestling, they don't overlook the little shit, and it doesn't look hokey. They built the match as much as you can anymore in these modern times to bigger moves as they went. And didn't just, you know, blow their whole fucking load in the first 10 minutes and then start repeating themselves. At one point, Danielson gave him some kind of fucking modified chicken wing German suplex off the top rope, but both of them sold. And then when Danielson finally crawled over and got to cover, Ospreay didn't kick out. He got his foot on the ropes. Even at one point when Danielson was really putting on Ospreay, and Ospreay got fed up with it when he dared Danielson to give him some more in that context, and that way it made sense. I wish I hadn't seen 100 clowns do it first badly. And so, again, this is another example, but this even more so, I said with Kyle and Roddy earlier, but if the WWE star-making machine could be, and the booking logic and sense and plans could be applied to guys who could do something like that, this shit would get over to a wider audience. But it's either feast or famine, as I said before. It's either these guys just being allowed to do all this bullshit, just everybody can do whatever they want, so none of it means anything. Or in the WWE, they've got so much money tied up in each guy on the roster that they don't want them to do anything dangerous. Be nice if we can meet in the middle, not too hot, not too cold. So anyway, the crowd was going fucking nuts for this whole goddamn thing. And at one point, Ospreay went for the cutter off the ropes, and Danielson hit him with a jumping knee, and the fans lost their shit, and I think Will lost some teeth because that was fucking stiff. And then they went to opposite corners and fired the crowd up and charged, and Ospreay hit the elbow and hooked Danielson for the double arm and dropped him straight down, but safely. He tucked him, and he got tucked in the nick of time. I don't know if I was Danielson, I'd be calling it that close, but apparently he trusted the guy. And then the referee is like, oh, Doc, check on him. But Will went back to the opposite corner and hit the elbow, which I'm still not completely impressed by. From behind, boom, 1, 2, 3. And 32 minutes, and it didn't drag. The crowd made it in part because they were so invested. That was infectious, but also it didn't drag because they weren't breaking furniture 3 minutes in. You didn't feel like you'd seen everything 15 fucking times. It was a back and forth contest. They told a story in it, but they didn't lose sight of the fact that they were in a fight. So, again, Cody is a complete waste of time. And I don't think
Okada, for those hearing this who are not aware who you're talking about.
He looks like Japanese Cody. Cody. He's a complete waste of time and resources, and Mercedes, I don't believe, has proven herself to be that good. But with good opponents and good booking, you can do something with Will Ospreay in America. And he might get the opponents. I'm afraid he ain't going to get the good booking because he's in AEW. But, this, I applaud both guys because this was very good.
With good booking, the biggest match AEW has, I think, on the horizon in the future, I think it would be Will Ospreay as a babyface versus a heel MJF.
Yeah, now...
with good booking, like I said.
Yes.
Because Ospreay, he has proven it from day one. Again, you can't control how he's booked. He's looked good in his matches, which for some reason are against his own stablemates. But he looks good. His promos are fired up. The fans are behind him. This match was excellent. It was a notch above because of the crowd reaction.
Yeah.
The crowd was all in on this match. They weren't like that for every other match on the show. It was this match, the people in it. With good booking, which is always the problem there, Will Ospreay's the top babyface in that company. Feel bad saying that tonight. Swerve got the belt. But Ospreay has proven it so far, and when you look at opponents down the road and on the horizon, I think that's the match with proper build-up over time could really mean something.
And exactly because MJF can talk and can work logically and sensibly, and he could produce Will to show off his strengths and possibly eliminate some weaknesses because he's not going to be doing gymnastics. But again, Don Fallis was on color here. He wasn't a factor in Ospreay's match, but Will Ospreay is in the group of heels managed by Don Fallis, including Hobbs and Fletcher and who's the other one? Who am I missing?
Hobbs, Fletcher, Takeshita.
Takeke, whatever his name is.
Who's impressed you more so far, Takeshita or Okada?
Oh, Takeshita. And I'll even pronounce him right for that. No, that's not even close. And with Takeshita, you can make him from scratch, and he doesn't feel like he's a star that ought to be getting special treatment. You can tell him what to do and produce him if you know what you're doing. And he's bigger, he's better looking, he's younger, he's got a better body, and his work looks better. He's trying harder. So, yeah, I think they ought to give him fucking O'Cody's money. But that's what I'm saying is that Ospreay's in the heel group with a heel manager. He's the most popular guy, except for maybe Swerve, who still has Nana as a manager, even though Nana's now not with the other heels. Nana never turned on anybody. But you have to have a heel manager to be popular.
Did you ever think we'd see the day where Nana became beloved babyface manager, dancing babyface manager Prince Nana?
Well, no, but that's the thing is there just to have continuity in somewhere, somehow, have him come out and either renounce the other heels he had or do some babyface act. He doesn't even help Swerve. He didn't help Swerve when Swerve was a heel, did he?
He's kind of like babyface Jimmy Hart as a manager.
Not in Memphis.
No.
In Memphis, Jimmy
in 93 in WWF.
Yeah, well, yes. No, I didn't want to give people the opinion that Jimmy Hart ever didn't get a chance to ever do nothing. But nevertheless,
as a babyface,
even when he turned babyface in Memphis for like 3 weeks, he was all over the show, and then turned back on Andy Kaufman, whatever the fuck. But anyway, this was a great match, and they've got something with Will, but how do they get him out of this group? Why was he in it to begin with? He's already had matches with everybody in the group. So if they turn on him or he renounces them, they're going to have grudge matches. They just had him. He beat everybody. I'm so confused. But anyway, kudos to you guys.
Excellent match.
But now we got to go somewhere, don't we?
Down.
Down, down, down. Down, down, and they're climbing the ladder to the sewer system. When they get there, we'll know, 'cause the buckaroos will show. And then FTR will have job face in a sewer duct by the retention pond. There's a mosquito nest that's swarming. I wish they'd bite me because of global warming. All right. It was time for the World Tag Team Championship ladder match between the California Raisins themselves, the Cucamonga Kids, the Buckaroos. And by the way, this reminded me of this. Do you know that I've heard on Twitter from John Fell in Baltimore that he is a distant cousin of Homer and Jethro, who besides their major, Homer and Jethro, remember I told you I got the albums?
Yeah, how did that come up here? We're talking about the Bucks and FTR and the ladder match.
Because Homer and Jethro, besides their major hit that everybody used to sing when they were kids, I'm My Own Grandpa, they did the Battle of Cucamonga. That's how they came up. But
All
John
right.
Fell is the cousin of Homer, just so you know.
See, I know Cucamonga more from Mel Blanc than anything else.
Well, he did popularize the town, much like Buck Owens in Bakersfield, but nevertheless. Speaking of the Buckaroos, they wrestled FTR, and I don't know why I understand, and Danielson probably didn't want a main event. And that's why I was, well, maybe we could have done a lights out match situation or something. I don't know. But I can understand him putting the world heavyweight title match on after to protect the integrity of your world title. But why did they think that this could follow Danielson and Ospreay? Because even with FTR to work with, their skills are nullified because it's a garbage indie ladder match that the only thing that the petulant children that are running this fucking romper room can do. And the people weren't going to give a shit about it following the previous match, which showed athletic skill. So FTR has to go out there again and not only attempt to paralyze and hospitalize themselves to make these two fucking morons happy, but they got to put them over. When FTR's music hit, remember the 12 to 18 months ago when the FTR and the Briscoes were having those matches that weren't even on AEW television? They were so good, the AEW fans were searching them out on YouTube. And they would go wild when the music started and they'd see FTR, they would stand up, yay! Now it's like, oh boy, this means it's the other guys. And did these people even give a shit about the fuck? Even these people, I should say. I'll put my even in the right place and make it even. Did even these people give two shits about the kids from California?
Well, I guess you could say they gave two shits because later in the match they were chanting, "Please be careful." That's not a chant you usually hear in a match. Please be careful.
Yeah, and that's they think that by doing all the, and by they, too many pronouns, pal, Maddie and Nikki think that by doing all this ridiculous stunt bullshit and the smoke and the mirrors, they can somehow disguise and hide the fact that they have been lapped by the whole rest of the roster. And they do the same shit all the time, and it, in my opinion, was a shits 15 years ago. And they're still doing it, and they can't talk, and they can't work serious matches, and nobody gives a shit, except all of their friends that they got jobs there that still fucking bow and scrape for them. And from the first minute of this thing, they were on the floor doing the choreographed ladder stunts, and like there's people sitting there staring at it. And 3 minutes in, I was zoning out and wishing for the finish because it was every indie match ever from at 100 miles an hour with furniture.
Well, it's two things. It was following that other match, which was one of the best matches in AEW history, if not the best match. And secondly, they are feuding again for no good reason. They want to pretend like the Jack Perry clip airing with him and Punk was a big success because of the ratings. It didn't make anyone care about this match.
No.
No one cared about this match. The Bucks have no heat. No one cares about the heel executives.
And when everybody knows what's going to happen, because of the situation they got themselves in, and that everybody in their locker room is apparently a blabbermouth, but everybody, okay, just by, not only any kind of logic and common sense with the way that this has been done, but also because we know they're going to win the belts and old Jungle Jackoff is going to show up and help them. That's what we said last week, right?
That's right.
This hasn't been a secret. Well, guess what? They won the belts. Jungle Jackoff showed up and helped them. But to get there, Dax was bleeding like a stuck hog. They had chairs and ladders. And they made a ladder sandwich out of Dax and hit it with the chairs. And then they were fighting on a ladder that was bridged on the goddamn desk in the ring. And then my lawnmower showed up and I went out to talk to them and I forgot to pause the thing. So When I got back, I saw another broken table, and then I think they broke another one, 2 or 3 more, whatever. Anybody can do this. There's no why even have FTR in this? They could actually have they could have performed at a high level with someone, and they could have put 2 drunks in to do this shit. And then Dax was on the top of the ladder going for the belts, and the guy in the Sting mask ran in and pushed the ladder over, and security grabbed him. They tackled him like he was a fan coming into the ring, and when they pulled his mask off, which you always do when you tackle a fucking home intruder, before you've even got him cuffed, you pull that mask off. And it's Jungle Jack off, surprise, and then security just stands there and, oh shit, and stares at him. Like, well, what do we do now?
Yeah, give him time to mug for the camera.
Yes. And then Maddie reached up and got the belts. And that was the finish that was figured on that was going to happen. And they didn't surprise us after they finished breaking up half the fucking Home Depot office section. I can't add anything else.
I can't add anything else either. I hope we don't see these 2 teams in there with each other for a while. I think a lot of people are a little burned out on FTR right now. That's the feedback we've been seeing. And apparently Tony Khan thinks Jack Perry is going to be the next big star.
How many times can you watch somebody just get the shit kicked out of them and get beat? And then come back to get the shit kicked out of them and get beat again. But Tony thought Jack Perry's going to be a big star before. Unless they've given him, you know what? Son of a bitch.
What?
I didn't realize.
What?
He's been to Japan.
Yeah.
They gave him a new brain.
I've not seen that in the Observer for the record. And that's
that's because they kayfabed it. But now old Jungle Jack will be back, and he'll actually have a goddamn brain in his head. And this time he's going to be a big star and a pillar instead of a stump and a pillow.
Should they market Pillow Nightingale for children?
Get pillow. I'll do the jingle.
Is this what people are going to want to see, though? I mean, in terms of, I brought it up with the Jericho match earlier. What's heat versus what's we reject you, please go away. It may not be to that level with the Bucks right now with the audience.
Well, but okay.
Bringing Jack Perry in, I guess that's the question. Did this produce heat? Did this do anything that's going to make it so that the fans are mad at the Bucks and Jack Perry for stealing tag team championships? Or are they just going to be mad and acting up or just making noise because it's the guy that was in the incident with Punk?
Well, no, it's impossible, first of all, for the people to get mad at the Buckaroos for winning the belts in this goddamn fiasco of a garbage indie match, because everything is legal, including a bazooka. So how can you cheat in this fucking chaos, this mess, this unbelievable fucking hokey horse shit they do? You can't cheat. You can't get heat. You can't fuck anybody over because it's all just mayhem, stunts for no reason. But more importantly, the baby faces just got beat by the heels. Unless we want to see FTR Bucks 5 and then FTR wins, then how did this in any way do anything for FTR? But also, who did this make Jack Perry mad at or make mad at Jack Perry? The tag team? So now we get to see Dax and Cash break up and go after Jungle Jack when Dax has the only match he's ever won, a single match in AEW in his life, was against Cash, who never has him anymore.
That's ridiculous. Clearly this sets up the Young Bucks and Jack Perry versus FTR and CM Punk.
It would. It might, but it ain't.
That's what's so weak. That's what's so weak about this.
So what? That's what I'm saying is what are they going to do from here? How did nobody cares that the Bucks won the belts because they knew it was going to happen, and you can't cheat and get heat in that environment. FTR's been beaten again. Eh? And Jack Perry, he came and helped the Buckaroos win the belts. Well, who does this set him up to wrestle? Well, somebody else that we don't know about now, and who gives a shit. So everybody's interested in everything as a result of that.
And don't forget Okada, because he's part of their stable too. So that's the stable right now.
Well, then in that case, they got to have 8-man belts. So we can get Cody and Jungle Jack off in with the Buckaroos. Is it time to talk about the main event?
One match left. Now, it was pretty late in the night. It had been going a while, but it took the fans a little bit maybe to really get invested in it, but eventually they did, and this was the main event.
Well, and that's the thing is they got back into things because it was the World Heavyweight title, Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, 3 hours and 35 minutes into the pay-per-view, by the way, with another hour of pre-show matches before that these people had seen. So over 4.5 hours of wrestling, and these two guys in a single match, got to follow that. But because Swerve still has appeal, they were into it, and they were into it also because they didn't take off at 100 goddamn miles an hour, right? They stood across and they milked the people in Swerve's house and everything, and Swerve did indeed work as a babyface, and Joe's a great heel. But then, they still, I don't know who the referee was. I know who Paul Turner is, Bryce Remsburg, Aubrey Ed, Rick Knox, the corpse referee. I don't know who this guy was, but he just was kind of dumpy and stood around and stared. But I think they felt like they had to get to people at almost goddamn midnight. They had to live up to some of the low bar set earlier. So within 3 minutes of the match, Joe's rock bottoming Swerve over the fucking announce desk and pulling up the floor pads. But Swerve did a backflip over the top onto Joe, and then Joe gave Swerve a power slam on the concrete floor, which wasn't the finish. And they were out there for a couple minutes, whatever, and the referee's staring, gawking. And I love Samoa Joe. Swerve, I'm lukewarm on. As I said, it depends on his opponent. But at this, I was worn out. I'd seen everything you can do in a fucking ring at this point. The show was too long. It was running together for me. And we knew, again, that Swerve was going to win, so you want to stick with it. But, and I don't know what they're doing with the goddamn finishes. Or maybe it's just this referee was just scared or somaed or stupid. I don't fucking know. But at one point, Joe goes out and gets the title belt and just starts to come into the ring with it. But Swerve kicks him. And he drops the belt, and Swerve splashes Joe's back and does the double stomp and gets a 2 count. And then Joe picked up the belt where it had been laying since he dropped it because the referee never moved it. But then Nana gets up and draws the referee, and Swerve kicks Joe and gets the belt and swings, but Joe ducks and gets the sleeper. And they left the belt laying there. The belt was there in the ring for the rest of the fucking match. The referee never moved it, and it wasn't involved in the fucking finish. And then Swerve fought out of the sleeper and does some odd thing to Joe's arm and kicked him in the head, and then finally power bombed him off the turnbuckle and hit the double stomp. 1, 2, 3. And Joe left the ring like he was double parked and got the fuck out of there. And it was, it was anticlimactic for what maybe a month or two ago should have been the biggest moment that they could put together. But they let this go too long, and they put a better moment in front of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good match. It was fine. Big pop for Swerve getting the belt. A big moment, obviously. He was, really into it. Really into it. He won the world title. But big match, big finish, big pop. But the show should have ended. No show should continue after that Danielson-Ospreay match. Especially, too, because they teased Danielson being hurt. And I wonder how many people in the building thought maybe there's a chance he was.
Because
He did a hell of a job selling that.
Yes, he did. The doctors were checking him, and I forgot to mention that, the whole 9 yards. We got off on a tangent, but he did a great job selling. But I don't know that. I don't think that put a kibosh on the mood in the room. I think it was the ladder chaos bullshit.
Well, it was that match followed by the ladder match, which took a while. Finally, got people to be concerned, and then you got the Jack Perry reveal. And then there was still more, and
then it was midnight, and the pay-per-view had a window from 8 to 12 and went off at 11:58.
And by the way, what a hassle it was for me. I decided I was going to buy a traditional pay-per-view, and it was the biggest goddamn hassle ever.
What?
With Xfinity, yeah.
How? That's the only easy thing to do anymore.
They don't have anything labeled as what is HD or SD. Their website doesn't even give you... If you go to their website, which a lot of people, other than like a Jim Cornette, would do to purchase like a event like this...
What?
It has boxing events. It has WWE pay-per-view events. There was nothing for AEW Dynasty.
Wait. You went to the website to purchase... You're sitting on your ass on the couch. You got the remote in your hand. The TV's in front of you. You hit fucking program guide and go to your pay-per-view channel, which right here in the Cornette home is $9.98. And you go to the day and there's the pay-per-view and you hit buy and record.
Yeah, right. They had 3 different pay-per-view channels next to each other. I'm not too familiar with them. They all said AEW Dynamite. Nothing said HD or SD.
Well, get SD because they give you like $10 off. And
who gives a shit? It looks like garbage.
These guys look better in SD than they do in HD.
You can't buy anything in SD. It's a waste of time and money. But anyway, that was AEW Dynasty.
I'll have you know that when Mama Cornette got when the phone service out here, when she was able to have touch tone service, they wanted to charge her $1 more. She said, absolutely not. Why would I pay $1 to do the same thing on the... So she got a touch tone phone, but you would hit the button and it would go tick, 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 tick. $1 a month adds up.